nature of politics. Introduction. In this study session, we will explore the nature of politics. In doing so, we will examine the concept of power and authority within a community. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Explain the nature of politics. 2. Discuss the types of power. 3. Discuss the 4 main theoretical models on the exercise of political power in society. And 4. Describe the types of authority within a political community. Political institutions. These are a set of norms and statutes that specialize in the exercise of power and authority. The complex set of political institutions, judicial, executive, and legislative, that operate throughout a society from the state. Cobram, 1997. The nature of politics can be seen in the following dimension. Cobram, 1997. 1. Politics, according to Max Weber, is the solo boring of hard boards. By this, he meant that political change is almost never achieved easily. Creating new political institutions or changing old ones, even just changing the leadership of existing institutions, usually requires years of effort. There will be endless meetings, ideological debates, fundraising, negotiations, and campaigning. At times, however, especially during times of revolutionary social change, the pace of political change is fast and furious. 2. We are living through a period of severe crisis and dramatic change in world politics. It is not at all clear that the democratic nation or state, the rule of law, and guarantees of the right of minorities can be established in many parts of the world. Mestrove, 1991. In the opinion of many political sociologists, the 20th century is ending within the world in a state of political unrest and nationalist conflict, much like that which existed at the end of the last century. This uncertainty in world and national politics makes the comparative study of political institutions established by the pioneering political sociological socialist Barrington Moore, 1968, a major growth area in sociology. 3. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 symbolized the beginning of a new era in world politics. The Cold War between the former Soviet Union and the Western capitalist democracies had dominated the politics of many parts of the world for more than 40 years. Although many nations, including the United States, still feel the effects of the ham race that accompanied the competition between the superpowers, the end of the Cold War has brought about an end to the nuclear balance of terror and the suppression of political expression within the former Soviet Empire. Nationality groups in the former Soviet republics are asserting their desire for independence, or at least for protection of their rights within a multi-ethnic state. 4. The political upheavals in Eastern Europe, Africa, and India, the struggle to transform South Africa into a truly democratic state, the potential for disunion in Canada, and the rise of violently anti-government hate groups in the United States, where all come together to make the comparative study of politics a central era of social scientific research for years to come. 5. We can gain much insight into what the nationality groups in Eastern Europe, the blacks in South Africa, and others who are trying to bring about political change are experiencing by looking more carefully at politics and political institutions and the place they occupy in national life. Power. Power is at the heart of a political system. According to Max Weber, power is the ability to exercise one's will over others. To put it in another way, if one party in a relationship can control the behavior of the other party, that individual group is exercising power. Power relations can involve large organizations, small organizations, or even people in an ultimate association. Schaffer and Smith, 2005. Sources of power. There are 3 basic sources of power within a political system: force, influence, and authority. Schaffer and Smith, 2005. They are briefly discussed here. Force. This is the actual or threatened use of coercion to impose one's will on others. When leaders imprison or even execute political dissidents, they are applying force. So too as terrorists, when they seize or bomb an embassy or assassinate a political leader. Influence. Influence, on the other hand, refers to the exercise of power through a process of persuasion. A person may reconsider his or her choice of career because of comments made by peers, the advice of school guardian counselors, or a passionate description of a profession by someone recruiting talented youths. In each case, sociologists would view such effort to persuade people as examples of influence. Theoretical models on the exercise of political power in society. The 4 main theoretical models of political institutions are now examined below. 1. Pluralistic model. This model interprets power in society as coming from the representation of diverse interests of various groups in society. This model assumes that in democratic society, the system of government works to balance the various interest groups in society. An interest group can be any constituency in society organized to promote its own agenda, including large, nationally based groups such as the American Association of Retired People, AARP, groups organized around professional and business interests such as Nigerian Medical Association, NMA, American Medical Association, AMA, Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, groups that concentrate on a single political or social goal, such as Rotary Club of Nigeria. According to the pluralist model, interest groups achieve power and influence through the organized mobilization of concerned people and groups. Anderson and Taylor, 2004. The pluralistic model has its own origins in the functionalist theory. This model sees the state as being a representative of the whole society. No particular group is seen as a political dominant. Instead, the pluralistic model sees power as broadly diffused across the public realm in society. Groups that want to effect change or express their point of view need only to mobilize to do so. The pluralist model also suggests that membership of diverse ethnic, racial, and social groups can participate equally in a representative and democratic government. This theoretical model assumes that power does not depend upon social status or wealth. Different interest groups compete for government attention and action with equality of political opportunities for any group that organizes to pursue its interests. Harrison, 1980, Block, 1987, and Anderson and Taylor, 2004. According to the pluralist model, special interest groups are the link between the people and the government. They compete with other interest groups in shaping public policy, each group using any influence it can garner to encourage policies favorable to its interest. One resource of special interest groups is sheer numbers. A special interest group with a large membership can influence a politician by threatening to support another candidate. Another tool an interest group uses is money. A small interest group with a substantial financial basis can wield a disproportionate amount of influence. The pluralist model sees special interest groups as an integral part of the political system, even though they are not an official part of government. In the pluralist view, interest groups make government more responsive to the needs and interests of different people, an especially important function in a highly diverse society. Berber-Roglu, 1990, and Anderson and Taylor, 2004. Power elite model. This originates in the work of Karl Marx, 1818 to 1883, and the conflict theory. According to Karl Marx, the dominant or ruling class control all the major institutions in society. The state itself is simply an instrument by which the ruling class exercises its power. The Marxist view of the state emphasizes the power of the upper class over the lower class, the small group of elites over the rest of the population. The state, according to Marx, is not a representative, rational institution, but an expression of the will of the ruling class. Marx, 1972, 1845. The power elite model posits a strong link between the government and the business. In a state, the business promotes the interest of the government, which in turn promotes the interest of the businessmen and women. The power elite model also emphasizes how power overlaps between influential groups. The power elite model sees the state as part of a structure of domination in society, one in which the state is simply a piece of the whole. Members of the upper class do not need to occupy high offices themselves to exert their will, as long as they are in a position to influence those who are in power. The majority in the power elite are white men, which, according to the power elite model, means that the interest and outlook of white men dominate the national agenda. Domoff, 1998. However, two strong criticisms have been leveled against the power elite model. According to Domoff, 1988, and Anderson and Taylor, 2004, this include A. The model assumes too rapidly that there is a unity of interest among elites. In fact, according to critics, the most powerful people in society hold widely divergent views on many political issues. B. The political elite model fails to acknowledge how well public interest groups have been able to make themselves heard. Autonomous state of mind. A third view of power developed by sociologists, the autonomous state model, interprets the state as its own major constituent. From this perspective, the state develops interest of its own, which it seeks to promote independent of outside interests and the public that it allegedly serves. The state is not simply reflective of the need of dominant groups, as Marx and power elite theorists would contend. Autonomous state theory sees the state as a network of administrative and policy organizations, each with its own interest, such as maintenance of its complex bureaucracies and protection of its special privileges. Jarmuth, 1990, Scarpel, 1992, Ruskameria, and Scarpel, 1996. The interests of the state intersect at times with the interests of the dominant class or the members of the society as a whole. But the major concern of the state is maintaining the status quo and upholding its own interest in its competition with other states. Autonomous state theorists note that states tend to grow over time, possibly including expansion beyond their original boundaries. The huge government apparatus now in place in the United States is a good illustration of autonomous state theory. The government provides a huge array of social support programs, including social security, unemployment benefits, agricultural subsidies, public assistance, and other economic interventions intended to protect citizens from vagaries of a capitalist market system. Collins, 1998. The purpose of this program is to serve people in need. Autonomous state theory argues that the government has grown into a massive, elaborate bureaucracy run by bureaucrats more absorbed in their own interest than in meeting the needs of the people. As a consequence, government can become paralyzed in conflict between revenue-seeking states, bureaucrats, and those who must fund them. This can lead to revolt against the state, as in the task revolts appearing periodically throughout the country. Collins, 1988, Lowe, 1990, and Anderson and Taylor, 2004. Critics of this theory say, however, that by focusing on the state alone, the autonomous state model overlooks the degree to which the state supports the interests of big businesses. Like the pluralist and power elite models, autonomous state models contribute to our understanding of the state, but it is not a total explanation of state power. Collins, 1998, Lowe, 1990, and Anderson and Taylor, 2004. Feminist model. The feminist theoretical model diverges from the preceding theoretical models by seeing men as having the most important power in society. Pluralist theories see power as widely dispersed through the class system. Power elite theorists see political power directly linked to upper class interest. Autonomous state theorists see the state as relatively independent of class interest. Feminist theory begins with the premise that an understanding of power cannot be sound without a strong analysis of gender. Haney, 1996. Some feminist theorists argued that all state institutions reflect men's interest. They see the state as fundamentally patriarchal, its organization embodying the principle that men are more powerful than women. Feminist theories of the state concluded that despite the presence of a few powerful women, the state is devoted primarily to men's interests, and moreover, the actions of the state will tend to support gender inequality. One historical example would be laws denying women the right to own property once they marry. Such laws protected men's interests at the expense of women. Blankenship, 1993. The argument that the state is male is easily observed in powerful political circles. McKinnon, 1983. Despite the recent inclusion of more women in powerful circles and the presence of some notable women as major national figures, the most powerful members are men. For example, the US Senate is 87% men. Groups that exercise state power, such as the police and military, are predominantly men. Authority. The word authority refers to power that has been institutionalized and is recognized by the people over whom it is exercised. Sociologists commonly use the term in connection with those who hold legitimate power through an elective process or publicly acknowledged process of holding power and position. A person's authority is limited by the constraint of a particular social position. For example, a soccer referee has the authority to award a penalty kick if he thinks there has been an infraction on the field. He does not, however, have the authority to give parking tickets to those spectators who have left their cars in a non-parking zone outside the stadium. Conversely, a police officer has no authority over players' action within the context of the game. Max Webb, 1947, original edition, 1913. Therefore, identified three ideal types of authority: traditional, legal rational, and charismatic. Sociologists have described Weber's typology as valuable in understanding different manifestations of legitimate power within a society. They are discussed below. 1. Traditional authority. A political system based on traditional authority, legitimate power is conferred by customs and cultural accepted practices. The order of one's superiors are said to be legitimate because this is how things have always been done. For example, a king or queen is accepted as a ruler of a nation simply by virtue of inheriting the crown. For the traditional leader, authority rests in customs, but not in the personal characteristics or technical competence of the leader or even written law. Traditional authority is absolute in many instances because the ruler has the ability to determine any policy. The ruler may be loved or hated, competent or destructive in terms of legitimacy. That does not matter. 2. Legal rational authority. Power made legitimate by law is known as legal rational authority. Leaders derive their legal rational authority from the written rules and regulations of political systems. For example, the authority of any president of a nation is legitimized by the constitution of the nation. Generally, in societies that are based on a legal rational authority, leaders are conceived of having specific areas of competence and authority. They are not viewed as having divine inspiration, as are the heads of certain society with traditional forms of authority. Charismatic authority. Weber also observed that power can be legitimized by the charisma of an individual. The term charismatic authority refers to power made legitimate by a leader's exceptional personnel or emotional appeal to his or our followers. Charisma lets a person lead or inspire without relying on set rules or traditions. Interestingly, charismatic authority is derived more from the beliefs of followers than from the actual qualities of the leader. So long as the common people in a society perceive a leader as having qualities setting him or her apart from ordinary citizens, that leader's authority will remain secure and often unquestioned. Unlike traditional rulers, charismatic leaders become well known by breaking with establishment institutions and advocating dramatic changes in the social structure and the economic system. Their stronghold over their followers makes it easier to build protest movements which change the dominant norms and values of a society. Thus, charismatic leaders such as Jesus, Muhammad, Mahatma Gandhi, and Martin Luther King all use their power to press for changes in aspect social behavior. Weber used traditional, legal rational, and charismatic authority as ideal types. In reality, particular leaders and political systems combine elements of two or more of these forms. Study session summary. In this study session, we examine the nature of politics, power, and authority. We describe the nature of politics in the political system, as well as the three sources of power, which are force, influence, and authority. We discussed the four main theoretical models on the exercise of power in society. The pluralized model stated that power is dispersed through the class system. The power elite model noted that power in society is mainly exercised by the elite in the society, that the upper class, the autonomous state model, insisted that power is solely exercised by the state independently of any class interest, and the feminist model envied that power in society is mainly in the hand of the male. Also, we defined authority as an institutionalized and recognized power. Furthermore, we noted that there are three ideal types of authority, which are traditional authority, legal rational authority, and charismatic authority. That ends study session 10. Thanks for listening.